We are the biggest, we are the largest, we are the highest, we are the greatest, we are the tallest African spiritual platform. I'm always Queen. Hadasha call me Empress. Makida, I am Labraska, the Sun Goddess, call me the Spear of Destiny. I am the World Star number 8. Call me the True Bloodline. I am the Woman of Peace. I welcome you, my people. I am preaching consciousness and liberation of African continent. That is what I represent. That's the mission. That's the agenda. I keep pushing. We keep pushing together as Black Nation. I welcome you to another episode. It's going to be great. We are going to talk about educational system in Africa. I welcome you with lots of love. Let's welcome one of our brothers who is going to take us on with today's episode. Let's welcome him. I welcome you, brother.
Thank you very much, Madam, for that eloquent introduction. My name is Joseph Akitima. I'm from Navrongo in the Upper East region of Ghana. I grew up in a village called Vnania. I attended Vnania Junior High School and later another local junior high school, Joseph Adabayeri Junior High School, a teacher by profession, filmmaker, and I also trained as a PhD candidate, educated in the Institute of African Studies, University of Ghana, Legon. So basically, that is me.
We welcome you.
Thank you very much.
We appreciate you on our biggest platform. Abusia, your guest is Susuni for today. I'm said this time round, this year, no, I think my father's side, they are taking over the platform. I mean, the northern part of me. If you know, you know. They are taking, my fathers are taking part, or they are portion of this platform. We've been seeing them. That's the face of this platform for you. The energies that control this platform can do anything, and they participate, or they put participants from every part of Ghana, because the platform is purely African. I have welcomed him, and this is the topic we are going to discuss. But I will ask a few randoms to bond with him before we get into our topic. So, brother, looking at Ghana, what hope do you see in us as Ghanaians?
The hope is to be found in the very few who insist Ghana is the only country that we have, and whose efforts, even if little, is put in the sea, you can taste it and you can find their efforts in the sea waters. Yeah.
So that's the hope.
That is the hope.
What is
we don't look at the strength of the warriors, we look at the spirit of the warriors. The spirit that even if 10,000 giants will confront me, as an individual, you insist that it is either there for your homeland.
Piao. So what is 3 major problems you think Ghanaians are having?
Yes, we have, to a large extent, wrenched our souls and our spirits from the ways of our ancestors. And if we depart from them, we turn our backs to them, they'll turn their backs to us. And so we have to reconnect with their ways, with their philosophies. That is one. The second aspect is, consciously we have to continue to know ourselves, who we are. And I borrow the words of John Garang de Mebiara. He said that sometimes you need to go far back in order to go forward. And then again, the other aspect is women's struggle. I celebrate Queen Tetu Betu, that is wife of Haile Mariam Mengistu of Ethiopia, who led 6,000 Legion Women Strong, and she is not celebrated in the annals of history. And when we talk about Adwa and African victory, I think that she was the victor, not the husband, Ras Menelik Haile Mariam Mengistu II. So, women empowerment. We have mothers, we have sisters, women empowerment. Yes.
Looking at politics and religion, is it helping us or it is damaging us?
Politics and religion, most of the times what I see is religion is the mask where Africans and most Africans hide their true face. When they are asked to test their faith as against what they do in the political arena, you find out that they fall so short. And that for me is a very big challenge. If we profess Catholicism, if we profess we have deities in the north, and some of our brothers, they will say lie, lie, lie. But in the facts, the evidence, you find out that beyond the profession of that spirituality, they are not in connect with themselves or with their forefather, who said that I will not go to bed on a full stomach while my neighbor cries. So any religion that places man, I mean that places man below any other thing, is not a true religion. So man is the face of God. So basically that is it. If you are into politics and you place whatever you are doing above humanity, you are of something else, not of the Supreme Being. And we have his name, Jah, Jehovah, El Shaddai, Elohim, Adonai. In my culture, we call him Awe, Nawun, or Nawine.
This is heavy. If you place whatever you are doing first and you don't place humanity first, Lawu, it doesn't make sense. Is that true?
Yes, true.
If they come and beat you, don't call me. You are watching the biggest and the largest. What he just said is too huge. It's trying to make me kind of emotional, but I'm trying to be strong. That time when you would sit at your doorstep and everybody will be coming from the farms, and you don't have the strength to go to farm, and everybody will be giving you something and you will eat. That time when people cook in their homes and they will put some in bowls and plates to the other house, whether they will cook or not, they exchange food. You bring mine and I bring yours. So today when I bring mine and you don't have anything, you have food to eat. That was then. That was then. Can we bring these things back? Today everybody is a witch. So even my brother stay behind the walls. They started from the borders and now they brought us walls around our houses, and we started putting dogs in our houses. Remember what a dog represents. We are not going to go there today. What he said was too huge. The reason I'm talking so much and not too plenty. It's another episode. Today we are discussing language and education in Africa. That's what we are discussing today. So my brother, please take us through.
In the recent past, some group of wandering white men with a certain intention. When I say certain intention, I'll explain shortly. Intention to exploit, intention to evangelize, intention to extend their imperial and colonial tendencies, found themselves in Africa. And now they started inventing certain words. Discovery. John Henning Speck discovered Lake Nyanza. Livingston discovered this. Columbus discovered that. But what they discovered, there were people living in there. They report back to the Royal Geographical Societies of their respective countries, and I will name Britain. And then they realized that, okay, dying empires must be revamped. They must be strengthened. And so establishing their trench holes, as in most of the colonies. We have settler colonies in South Africa, Zimbabwe, Kenya, and then coming to Ghana to also establish what we now will refer to as indirect reviews in our chiefs. Now they came and met very rich culture, expressed in languages, because language bears the burden of our culture. You want to marry, it is in the language. You want to communicate to your ancestor, it is in the language. But there has a certain intention. What was that intention? As I mentioned, to exploit and to implant, remove or wrench from Africa what we believed. So they devised a means of using language. Language was one of the critical components. And so one of the reasons they may have done that was because they realized that there were so many local languages that they had to encounter. So people were compelled to now go to kind of Western schools to learn English so that they can liaise with the local persons, the indigenes, so that when they are doing their trade or whatever, they'll be able to fashion that out and have whatever they desire from the rich or vast resources of Africans. And so language began to creep in. And soon they established the caste schools for mulattoes, and it wasn't long until so-called formal education. And with that, if you speak any local language in the school, you were tortured. And I have one professor, Yoruba professor, female professor, saying that she was even, I think, charged, I think, £5 for speaking Yoruba in school. So our native languages was language of the primitive. And so that was it.
The biggest. So what are we going to do about this? Because as we are speaking right now with you, it's the same language we are using.
Yes.
Is that not?
It's true.
So what do we have to do? What can we do? Okay.
So I will lean on this, the words of Professor James Ngugi wa Thiong'o. Ngugi wa Thiong'o, in some of his writings, a book like I Will Marry When I Want, he's written it in his native language of Gikuyu, so that it will have that impact on the Gikuyu persons. Even on the continent of Africa, we had, like I mentioned, Ngugi wa Thiong'o, Obiwale, Grace Ogot, who insist that we have to communicate in our local languages and teach our children in our local languages, because the weight of our consciousness, our tradition, the forming of personhood are inherent in our local languages. But you see, as you mentioned, we are now communicating in English, because if I'm going to speak in Buli or Kasim or let's say Guni, you may find it very difficult to comprehend, and we will have very few listeners understanding what we are communicating. So Ngugi gives us this two approaches. That language can serve as a tool of alienation and at certain moments empowerment. That look, if we are able to know even the language of your so-called enemy or colonizers, you may become relevant in the global discourses. But that is not to say that you should allow that language of the so-called supremacists to swallow your own. So in as much as you are trying to learn Spanish, German, learn Akan, learn Ga, learn Ewe, and all other languages, and then you'll be much closer to your brother than someone else who, quote unquote, whose intention is to exploit you and who sees you in a different lens than those that I have just mentioned, your own persons or your own kindred.
So what, assuming you become a president today, what and what will you do to educational system in Ghana?
Yeah, becoming a president today, what has been said with regards to education in Ghana, my approach will not be entirely different, because most persons have discussed about what should be done with regards to the educational system. It's just implementing. We have persons like Professor Ekushua Pebi and a lot more who insist that even our very concepts like Sankofa, what does it mean? You see, we see a lot of people, they have it in their set, they have it in their walls. What does it mean? It says, go back to the past, re-examine, because the symbol of that bird, the bird is in motion, but the head is turned backward. Go back to the past, examine that which is relevant for your existence today, and use it. So our educational system, we should look at what concerns us, what we should imbibe as Ghanaians, as Africans. Most of the time we speak so much of there are challenges with jobs, there are challenges with conduct, there are challenges with persons of high places, but you can find the causes of that in our educational system. Educational system that will teach purity of heart, educational system that will teach us the ways of our forefathers, our ancestors, educational system that will teach us the virtues of Amina of Zaria, persons of like Santua, who kind of kept society first before themselves. So the educational system is not, as well, we have the engineers, we have the doctors, we have all that, but the principles of Africanness, Afrocentric thinking, Afrofuturism, where do we position ourselves? So that at the end of the day, we will have that system where the Ghanaianness will manifest in our everyday lives. I was asking, I looked at the statistics of University of Ghana, statistics of UDS, statistics of other universities across Ghana, and I said, okay, if all these people were saying that, okay, and education will not teach you this unless we Africanize it, I'll take Kenke in the morning, the next day I will take maybe Tozafi, the next day I have to take Akle, then when I'm preparing to go to work, I have to apply Sia Butter. You see, at the end of the day, whose economy are you building? You are not building any, I don't want to name any country outside of Africa. But these are some of the things that we don't teach in terms of patriotism, oneness, so that at the end of the day, we as Africans can develop. There is a link between, in terms of economy, social lives, and politics in this. So those are some of the things. But as for the practical knowledge, even when we go back to classical chemistry, our forefathers, beginning from Imhotep, the first medical doctor, people don't know. We come to those who build the pyramids, they have noses like yours, they have lips like mine and yours. And when the Westerners, imperial agency came, they decided that they have to blow them off. Oh, white men, black people should not seem to have such kind of knowledge. It is not in our curriculum. So we rather go and then we are studying about Mungo Park, who discovered something that we were living in. John Hennings Park, David Livingstone. And we have even gone further by naming our institutions after them. And so children grow up historically learning more of people who sat on us, and they don't know anything about, let me say, Didan Kimati, and I mentioned Queen Tetu Betu, wife of Helen Maria Mengizu. They don't know anything about Amina of Zaria. They don't know more of themselves. So if they begin to know that, okay, before somebody will even waltz into my kingdom to call it colonizers, there were Nubites, there were Azumites, there were Kusais, there were Kemitus as in black Africans in Egypt. And they were builders of pyramids, builders of empires, and they fashioned out of their sons and grandsons fire breathers and eaters of snakes. Then you say, this is us. But you go and then you are talking about a certain General Frederick, who he has to struggle to look for the person's image either in any other some Euro-American book. That is not fair. Let us know more of ourselves. And of course, we should not focus on those who betray us, who connived with imperial agencies to continue to inflict pain on us, irrespective of wherever the person comes from. So we have to, in that educational curriculum, insist that these are the people that we should idolize. Even if they had, at the end, died some miserable deaths, let us understand that the death, by their deaths, they have become ancestors worthy of reverence, not somebody who will sell the soul of our countries, and then we learn or study about that person in our schools. So basically, those are some of the things. And with that, we can form conduct. You can have a medical doctor, great straight A's, a political scientist, straight A's. But if he is not connected with purity of heart of his fathers, great-grandfathers, great-grandmothers, then you will find out that, look, he will not be different from the person who will want to subjugate us from outside. And the evidences are there to see.
The evidences are there to see. I don't even know what to say. So what do you think we should take out? I want you to add what when you become a president, you will add. And what you will take out, how you will restructure the whole thing. Me, I'm always looking for solution. If you complain, give me solutions so we know where we are going.
Okay. Why do we have in our basic schools A for apple and not A for abe?
A for what?
Abe and not A for apple. I mean,
A Matthias, A for apple, A for abe. Sending na A.
Yeah.
But to be cry
why do we, even if you want to study English, don't read the issue of cultural relativity? Why do we, in our pursuit of self, oneness, not talk about Amilcar Cabral? What did he do? Sam Nujoma, what did he do? Didan Kimati. We go and study books that portray him as a terrorist. And Ngugi is clear. He says that everybody fight. But one that is fighting against imperialism and one fighting to dominate, they are not the same. Why are we not having those persons in our educational curriculum?
Are they? Why are we not having them? Why are we not having them?
Because certain persons have been educated in certain parts of the world where they are taught that Didan Kimati, persons like that, Amilcar Cabral, Kwame Nkrumah, that really gave us freedom, were actually the enemies of the state. And they have tripled. They have worsened our conditions, because you can't study from an enemy and will not implement what the enemy will do. You end up living
his way.
His way. So basically, those are some of the things. So if we have Sam Nujoma doing what he did for Namibia, a Portuguese just got out one day and said, okay, move all these black people to Katutura settlement because they belong there. And if he fights, he's a terrorist. My home? So we have to begin to tell people that, look, if Achebe himself will say that if you come to my house, my compound, and you defecate, I take a stick, I break your head. Is he a terrorist? So the narrative of one is sitting on another person, and the person that is being sat on is protesting. And he said he shouldn't protest. And if he protests, he's a terrorist. So you should be sitting down.
Forgiveness.
Yeah.
Holy, full of grace.
So we should connect with, I mentioned Pharaoh Mane, who unified Lower and Upper Kemi 3600 BC. We should unite. If there is anything that affects Togo, anything that affects Burkina Faso, it is close to us. Let those people who are far away from us and continue to inflict us pain also handle their issues the way they should handle them. And let us continue to revere our fathers, persons who actually were genuine, sincere in their efforts. And they died, they have joined our ancestors, and the evidences suggest clearly that they were not materialistic in person as it pertains to their struggle. They are entirely different from Thomas Sankara will say those who exploit Europe, they have their counterparts here, and they sing the same song and the same national anthem.
And we are still following.
We are still following. Some, not all of us.
When a day,
yeah.
Maybe I do it. See a guso, a piano, a jinyamidi, a baby. Hey. So let's bring the conversation down to Ghana. We have 275 parliamentarians. Is the president's part? Is he part? He's not part. So if we should have 120 out of these people with a higher consciousness vibrating on a higher frequency, these things that my brother is saying, will it be difficult for us to push it into our system? A black child doesn't know he has an ancestor who has ever created anything. For him to also have confidence in himself that my ancestor has done it, so I can also do it. We are just here cooking rice and stew. Benkuni meko. What happened to it? My brother, if you have any structures, put it there. If you like, let me ask this: if we should have like 120 conscious leaders, and they said now we are taking over our country, we are changing things, we want to use one language. Which language do you think we can use as our national language as Ghanaians? Okay,
I think that to specifically mention that this language should be used, there will be some form of cultural suicide. Before we get there, I mean, we have done census in the past. We have to look at that. There should be national dialogue as what language to use and what language not to use. Because currently, I think in Zimbabwe, in Debele and I think Sona, government prioritizes those languages over other minority languages, and that is not entirely fair, because we come back to the issue of segregation, the issue of not being fair. But if you have that national dialogue, this is one of the languages that we feel can be honest in terms of developing a national curricula around that language, and everybody is a key stakeholder, it will be fine. But we cannot also have that local language which should dwarf all other languages, because those languages are also cultural components. They bear the burden of their culture, rituals, whatever, in their own right. So there should be that mid-ground where we insist. I have been to certain parts of my community where people fall in love in Akan, because the languages in the north are about, let's say, about 20 or 19. And they have to speak in a language to in-laws that the in-laws do not understand. I mean, so, but they are all convenient with Akan. But it is not that easy to say that, okay, let us nationalize Akan, because people will not sacrifice in the north using Akan. People will not think or do their rituals, their funeral practices using Akan. So there should not be that temptation to promote one language and then at the end other languages like Ga ever surface.
But so if in this case, if we decide, you see, we too, we have a problem.
Yeah.
Me, like, I don't care about Akebulan. Like, I don't actually care. But my own brothers and sisters are my problem. Now, when they make, as we are all speaking English now, we are all speaking our individual languages, and we are using it for all the funeral, the marriage, and all that. Yeah. But we are all speaking English at the same time. Yeah. Somebody's language. Okay, we've been able to place somebody's language over all our languages, a stranger's language. So what stops us from using Akan as our national language? It's one of our own languages. Then the Ewes, the Gans, they will speak their own language, but when it comes to national language, then we use that one. If we decide not to understand this, and this one will be like, this is trying to show that she's superior over me, and don't you think we are our own problems too?
Yeah. When I mentioned, I pointed out certain things that English did or did not do to us. People were fined for speaking the local language. They call it vernacular language of the primitive people. You know, you are not supposed to use it. If we are not careful, we will be falling into that situation where persons will appear to say, okay, we have been forced to use Akan. That is why I'm saying that there should be that national consensus that, okay, this is how we should look at it. But the reality is that culture is expressed using the local language. Somebody goes to the shrine, he uses his local language. Somebody communicates his funeral practices, they use the local language. If you look at the statistics with regards to Akan, over the years, Akans appear to be increasing. But even that, it is not that easy to say that, okay, let us promote Akan as a national language without having that consultative discussion with other persons or speakers from other ethnic groups. Other than that, we will end up repeating what the colonialists did to us by forcing certain languages onto us. I recall there was that discussion sometime in the past when people felt that they should consciously, you know, promote Akan in every aspect of our discourse. And again, the advice came that, okay, let us be careful how we promote it. Other than that, there will be unpalatable, you know, happenings or resistance. But over the years, as the statistics continue to, you know, soar with other languages, then, with Akan, a time may come that within that national discourse, somebody will say, okay, let us see the possibility of promoting this Akan as East Africa and other places. They now have Swahili, and everybody, there is even the suggestion that they should have Swahili at the African Union discussions. So you will not have a Yoruba man saying, why you want to use Swahili? I'm a Yoruba. I'm an Igbo, I am Hausa, so why do you? But if there is that national dialogue that everybody understands that at the end of the day, it is winner for all and loser for none, then we will be making steady progress.
Okay, let's assume you are the chairperson of the national dialogue. In picking 2 languages that we can use in Ghana. What will be your choice? Okay,
my choice will be the choice of the people.
Which people? You are the head of the national dialogue.
Yes. Yes, it will be the choice of the people. You mentioned Parliament as one of the points of consciousness. And I recall Right Honorable Speaker Alban Sumani Bagby saying that local language would be used in Parliament. As for the practicality, whether if somebody were to speak in Dagari, then, and in that Dagari, another person doesn't speak Akan, another person speaks Asem, and how
would that place be Nyama?
How?
Or we should look for translators.
So I'm trying to actually understand the practicality of that, and I don't know what strategy that he will use to, as it is, ensure that everybody get the full import of what somebody else will say, and vice versa, because somebody too may have to respond. And in that response, so the national dialogue around language is very important. So that if at the end of the day, we have that understanding, beginning from the basic level, we say that, okay, let us promote that. Because now I'm aware that Gruni has a dictionary. I'm aware Akan has a dictionary. Before Bakari Kamon told me that I think around 1880 or 1830, somebody has already, I'm not too sure about the date, but that dictionary exists, I think, in print, and people are been engaged in it even at the doctoral level. So these are the opportunities that we can have our discussions around. If we want to make that, okay, the statistics show that, okay, globally Akan is 10 million, in Ghana it is 40 to 50%, so let us, it may not, we may end up at being describing ourselves or turning the past of our colonizers. If there is that national consensus, then it will be very smooth. There may be resistance because sometimes what belongs to everybody belongs to no one, but at the end of the day, to serve our interests better.
It will serve our interests better. Your advice to the public, if there's anything you want the public to know, if there's anything you want to tell us, and then your last words.
I feel that as Africans, we should connect strongly with the ways of our fathers, and those gone before them and those who are still alive. Not many of them are, quote unquote, feel in that category of fathers. Fathers who place human value above everything. Fathers who worship Mother Earth. Mother Earth, in my culture, when the Kasna persons they are performing sacrificing, they say Bangawe the Okane Katega, the supreme being and his wife Mother Earth. So Mother Earth is, as it is, a mother deity, and we will not do to Mother Earth what we will do to our own mothers. And this is by way of telling us how we can reconnect with the ways. You don't need to necessarily be somebody to, but if you understand the essence of the purity of Mother Earth, and that nature gives back to us what we give to nature, we will, at the end of the day, have that peaceful coexistence, and at the end of the day, it will benefit us and by extension, our Ghanaian community. Again, the concept of being optimistic about the future. We have to continue to fight. We have to continue and discard so much of this materialistic life aspect. What did Amilcar Cabral do? What did Frantz Fanon do? What did Thomas Isidore Sankara, what did he do for the people of Alpha Volta? He wasn't extolled, but yes, he has been extolled, and I went to his mausoleum and I felt that I was home. So let us continue to do our part. There are persons who will distract us along the way. Oh, look at this person. He's been here shortly and he has gotten this. Well, if your father is Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, or if your mother is Iya Santua, you may think twice before you betray your conscience or the soul of your country. You will stand firm, you will promote the nation, and by extension, they say an ancestor is not dead unless forgotten. You may not be forgotten.
Thank you for the word so sweet. But tell us a few words, like 5 sentences that you feel our fathers, you said we should go back to our fathers' words. Give us a few of those words.
Yeah, and one of them is the spring bean will not preen the feathers of the chicken that he has given the beak. Yes. You know, feathers, they use their beak to preen their feathers. So God has given black Africans superior intellect. When we go to the sporting arena, yes, the knockouts and the Usain Bolts, it is us. We are builders of empires and all that. So he has given us the intellect. If we allow somebody from anywhere to tell us that
you are a chicken,
you are a chicken, you are weak, you are this, God will just be looking at you, because he made you fearfully, wonderfully, giving you strong intellect. Your great-grandfather, Imhotep, was the first medical doctor. Philosophy was in classical Kemet. That is where the Greeks came and stole their knowledge, and they went and all that. So, first, you as a black African or an African must be ever and ever aware that God has blessed you beyond measure. And if you allow yourself to be ruled or to be exploited by forces from outside or from inside, and you feel that God will descend from wherever he is to come and help you, or you lock yourself in a small room and chant Hallelujah, Jesus, Aladura. No, he has given you the willpower. Thomas Sankara didn't lock himself in a room. Osajifo, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah didn't do that. Nze Warioba, and we have Nelson Mandela, Walter Cecil. There are many. They didn't do that. He said, go out and fight and keep your people safe and free. And by that, we'll be free. The second, I may talk about women empowerment. At certain moments, I go to Agboglosi and I see most of our young girls carrying load, baby strap on their backs, and sometime in the past, there has been that argument, how do we solve this problem? And I said, look, if you want to kill a snake, you strike it in the head. The problem is in the communities where they come from. Give them education. Give them sustainable development. The womb to heaven is the womb of womanhood. And so if we don't give these ladies and young girls protection, at the end of the day, we can build very high walls. But if their children are not well formed, they will scale those walls and they will do damage to us. We may want to look at our educational curricula. Discard the politics around it. Discard the politics around it. Terani and Smith says that, and John Rowland Abiodun, they say that victory has many fathers. Victory has many fathers. If my father is still alive, were a coward of war, was a collaborator with imperial agency and colonizers, I should not struggle to put his name in the annals of history. No. I should look at what he did, and if I'm ashamed of it, I should labor consciously not to walk his footpath and then make a name for myself. At the end of the day, the community will be better. If I struggle to put his name, or if it were my mother's name in the annals of history, that will be unfair. And the world is in twofold. We will pour the libation, but it will never get to that your father, because he doesn't belong to the ancestral. Well, he has no stool at that place because he has been rejected by his very deeds. So then again, the issue of cultural relativity. You look at books that we are made to study heroes, plants, animals, and these are animals that are found in Europe and America. We don't look at our own, animals. And these animals, I'm particular about this because they are also inherent in our folklore, our narrative. So Kweku now decides that he will climb the apple tree. Where is the apple tree? So some of the local animals and...
instead of climbing the horse.
Goat.
Or the goat.
Goat. So those are some of the things that we need to pay keen attention
to. Okay. We are done, but I just went back to ask him. Now you said women empowerment, and you see there's someone in Abubloshi carrying baby at the back. Most of these people carrying babies at the back and carrying loads are from your end. So in your own language, give them advice how they should take care of the women and babies so they don't rush back here, and those of your people who have made it big here in Accra, how they should turn their Sankofa, go back there and make the place a better place for these people to live comfortably, so they don't come here and be sleeping by shops and like you said. So say this in your language to them.
Okay, so mighty yeli shene dele te tar sonma bona te tinga bolga tar sonma na mane mabona tamale Ghana wo te tar sonma te tapala na mbona bubulushi Madina na tengala za boba komare zotala le de la typique niveau bese benda na mata bakena kala baseba la narrative bona skuri bana ka skuri wana kra kala bakateri zinya gata te ba han yogora ba te bara zine ba te ba fara ba ligri na nanwa getiri bona kala te nerba zozo bona parliament dire nuhi te Ghana law kenanenga te baseba me tona zihimindi zikara la ingla wane te pokosowa koma wa bona sikuri te beri sane ba me yure kenanenga geba bona kala tona ton fies ga bana yela hola dine ba la hola la hola da beri la katari beri bora ba so bala inget meti yele te son malambo yile te ingan kuri te besat la ingla wane te son malambo akra kala te ingan kuri te behet na ingla wane la ne sawa minga ite baziri politique ko kala zunge yele te bana song bala ba ma sanga wo song la da song rende song re lampo met ma mengala ndi te badena te tapaseke na te manu mala so ti tipa ngate be la isi na te song ba te bere la ana sombora to
yai Abusia mama yenye serious. Our people, my father's people. Somebody said you are called Grace Opoku. Why? How did you know me? If the Grace Opoku is my Mrs. name, how would you know? Seriously, now some of us have become so big in Accra. You can't talk about 100 lawyers without a northerner. You can't talk about 100 doctors without a northerner. I plead, I'm not saying carrying loads is not a job. We can turn it into a factory or a company that will give these children a future. So please, let's change that narrative about the northerners coming from the north to becoming power pass, and all the northerners should join force and turn those things around. Let's focus. When we get the money, let's build all the factories in the north. If they need the goods, they will come and buy it. There is nothing beautiful in giving your people jobs, feeding families of your own village or small, place. There's nothing beautiful in putting light in your village. There's a reason why you were born there. There's a reason why that's the first ground you took your first steps on. Let's work together and make this place a better place to live. I keep promoting the languages of Ghana and everything, but my mission and my agenda is to liberate African continent, and we keep pushing. So anybody that comes here will speak in his or her local dialect before leaving the set. Thank you so much, my brother. I do appreciate you. Thank you so much for watching The Biggest and the Largest. I am always your adorable host, Maame Grace.